Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Geezer back with another build video. Got something a little different for you today. Once in a while I do like to do resource-based designs, and I know one popular design is the furnace base. Obviously there's not much need for very many furnace-based designs given the kind of enclosed cottage style large furnace and refinery base that kind of just has the roof pieces over it. However, that does have a cost associated with it. So what I wanted to do was to do something that was, you know, as economical as I could do, and just give you at least another option in terms of kind of a very, very small furnace base. So there are a couple more slots here in the entranceway for barbecue, small box type of things. But we want to have some nice clearance here, so I'll just leave that to your judgment. So what we've got here is just a super small 3 foundation micro kind of resource base. It could be a starter base and you could expand off of this. We've got a couple of boxes, and you don't need any small furnaces inside here because you have a large furnace. I've designed this a little bit differently, so there is no courtyard access in this design. We've actually specifically prevented it. So we've put this square frame to prevent any kind of in and out access of the window, and that has a dual purpose as well. It kind of means that we have to be able to access this through the window because we can't just walk out into the courtyard. So it makes sure that we have easy access to the furnace through the window here, and also it prevents, you know, kind of grubbers from coming in and climbing through the window, which they might see as a weak point. You can also put the embrasure, and when you're not cooking, you can also put in the strengthened glass window or something to that effect. We do have a couple of doors in here, one protecting the TC. You could upgrade this compartment or kind of some of this to metal. It's a good idea. Probably not much use doing it much beyond that, unless if you do happen to get some couple of double doors that are the armored double doors, maybe you could upgrade this to high qual, but at this point I say this is a pretty good base design for just like a super cheap resource base. And this way you don't have to have an entire stone or stone and metal enclosure for your resource base, and instead you've got insanely cheap upkeep, only about 200 metal and about 100 stone, a little over. That's it. So you can loot through the windows here, easily accessing your large furnace. If you don't need to for additional security, you can put this on. Just in case there's someone trying to grub and shoot through the window, you can remove it and you'll have a little bit of advantage to fire at people. But let's just go and see what else we've got going on here. It's just a tiny courtyard. We put 3 high wood walls. Each is only 1,500 wood. So building this entire structure around the outside, it's only costing you less than 5 stacks of wood, less than a row of wood, right? And then you've got some shotgun traps. You could do whatever you want here. You don't need any shotgun traps, but I would place at least a couple, just so that they'll shoot when someone jumps in, if someone ladders over, and then you'll kind of know that somebody's there, because you're not going to be like planning to retrieve anything from in here. You're not trying to go in here at all. And if somebody does ladder in here to grub, the point is there's nothing else of value in here. There's nothing else that's accessible at all. And there's no door for them to blow through. They can try to blow through here, but that's a fairly secure point given this like tiny resource-based design. In terms of kind of being concerned about people jumping into your base, I really wouldn't worry about it too much. You could set up traps so they would strategically get shot, and if they do want to jump in, if they do happen to get something out of your furnace, well, you could change your strategy for how you cook stuff a little bit. But it's going to be drastically better than just putting your furnace out unprotected, and it's also going to be drastically cheaper for a solo, like only about 200 metal frags and 100 stone. You've still got 2 garage doors and a sheet door protecting your TC, which would be good for, you know, roughly 8 rockets almost. And you've got a workbench in there. a couple of large boxes, 3 small boxes, I think, 2 or 3 small boxes, and there's a little bit more space as well. That's really all I've got to tell you guys about this base, and there's really not too much to building it, but there are a couple of tricks that I'll show you, and we can go ahead and build this right now. So we're going to start off by making the footprint for the actual micro solo base here. Of course, this doesn't have to be a solo base. I'm sure you could fit a couple of bags in there, no problem. Since it is a resource base, you don't have to be living out of it. You may want to have, you know, a couple of bags for a duo in there. And I'll just leave that to your judgment. I see it kind of as a solo base just because, you know, there's your footprint, right? 3 foundations. So you could certainly use this as a starter base. And then eventually turn it into a resource base and live out of it, or just use it as a satellite base only for resources, which is probably what I would do. So starting in terms of closing up your TC, just build your chamber. But of course, we already know the footprint. There's nothing tricky going on, so you might as well just enclose this right away and seal everything. Put all of your kind of elements down here. Building blocks down. So that's easier than making a twig jump up on the outside, I think. If you don't have the door frames there, I think this square frame will collapse, so you probably want to do that first. And then put your double door frames or whatever you have, your wooden doors, probably to start. Before making this, I would consider having at least some shutters. It's not strictly necessary because you're going to have a door over your TC immediately. So your TC will be protected, and then your bag will be protected as well. But as you progress, you will want to have some other boxes in here, and it will impact how you place things if you do not have any BPs yet. Okay, so just keep placing your doors throughout here and then upgrade them to the garage doors or to the armored double doors as you get them. It's certainly recommended. And we can put just a regular double sheet door at the front here. And, you know, basically here is the starter base done. But of course, I'd put an embrasure on here as soon as possible. Strengthened glass windows as well. You know, you could put wood shutters there if you don't have it yet. It's up to you. And I just put the workbench in here. This is nice because it's very easy to fit a tier 1 or a tier 2 workbench in here. No problem. Don't really have to worry about that too much. You can align things as you like it. There's a fair amount of space for several boxes in here, seeing as you don't need any furnaces because we're gonna have a large furnace. You may have a furnace here initially because you don't have a large furnace yet. And in which case you could just stick it wherever you want, right? There's tons and tons of space. You could do whatever you want with boxes. The main thing is this, just that you can get through the square frame here. But really it doesn't matter how you have any of this stuff. I mean, it doesn't matter to the design. It's just your own preference. Some people like to see stuff loaded in. So I try to do a little bit. Okay. So we've got this. At some point, some of the design choices or the feng shui, whatever you want to call it, it's just your own decision. Do I already have a box down there? Yeah. And of course, lock everything. Okay, that's enough of that anyways. We got a couple of boxes, large and small, and there's plenty of space in here for another box or a barbecue, but I like to have lots of space to walk through until I completely run out of space, in which case then I would look at expanding slightly. Just crawl under here, jump up, no problem. There's really nothing else to tell you guys about the starter unit here. So basically, the things that it will require are the large furnace, as well as the high wood walls. And this model only uses 3 high wood walls, so it's super cheap. You don't have to pay, you know, some massive stone upkeep or a shell around your furnace base. And I do love that design, by the way, but as a solo who's really trying to pinch the pennies or the resources, as it were, this is a great option, I think. And I do have other models that only use 2, but in that case you're using more stone, slightly more complex models. We may do future videos on that, but not right now. So let's go ahead and place our main deployables exterior design elements here. So this it's kind of a cross, okay, the large furnace, and we want the point of the cross to be sort of in the middle of the embrasure, all the way down to the ground, and then push it up as far as it will go. So one thing that you may want to do, I don't do it, but you may want to do it this way, is do not add this square frame yet, okay? And that way, if you place your large furnace and you find that you have trouble looting through the window, well, then you could just avoid placing that and you'll be able to crawl through your window. It's not the best solution, and it means that your design has failed, because the point of this design, one of them, is to be able to loot through the window, and to essentially have no door into your courtyard, no door into your building from the courtyard that the grubs could get through, and no need to have any access, full-size access way or anything like that, into kind of your outside resource area where your large furnace is. That's the point of this. So if you've kind of made a mistake where you put that, it's not the end of the world. There are options to handle that. If I put this down here and I found I couldn't loot it, I would probably just I'd change my design, so I'd basically put a door on top so I could ladder down into the courtyard that way and climb up. That's all I'd do. So we're going to take these high wood walls. We're only going to use 3. And you have to put it out far enough that you'll be able to put one parallel to the base as well. So how exactly this goes, something like that, you know. Probably about like that. You have tons and tons of space to work with because you're using 3 walls. And there's only a furnace inside. And then just this other piece is going to go like that. Basically, the tip here is going to stay stone, so you don't really worry too much about it. And you're going to make a jump up. And I usually place some triangles around here and place the barricades on top. What exactly you use for barricades will just depend on what you have. If you do have these metal barricades, certainly use those. If you've got the barbed wire ones, those will work reasonably well. But this is going to work great. As you can see, the exact alignment of the walls doesn't matter at all. Okay, this time we've got a pretty square one, and the previous one it was kind of more a rhombus. Doesn't matter at all. Okay, if you do get a very spacious design, you can always try to put a large furnace inside here, or sorry, the refinery in here. But I've specifically designed this so that it's easier for people to make, okay? Which is why I don't put a refinery in here, because I do have a model of this design that has a refinery and a large furnace in it. However, the placement of that through the window, it's very tricky, very finicky, and I just have a feeling that there'll be more options to mistake the placement. So this design, it's really easy with the furnace right in the middle, no problem. It's easy to loot. It's harder to screw up. If you have a refinery and a furnace on either side, usually what I'd probably recommend in that situation is to change your building footprint so that you have 2 windows or something like that. Or just change the design, because it is possible. I have done it and I do like it for myself, but it's very, very precise to be able to loot both. not because of the refinery. The refinery is usually easy to loot, but the large furnace will have to be placed really precisely so that you will still have an angle to loot it, because it really likes to be right in front here to loot through the window. And the alternative, of course, is just to not have this frame here, and then all of that will work fine. You can just crawl out your window, loot everything in your courtyard, loot any bodies, do PvP that way, and that's still a great design. That's just not what we're doing today. We want to make sure there's literally no entrance into our base from the courtyard, and it's an entirely different theory of like resource cooking. Okay, so I don't really have anything else to show you for the production or the setup of this design. At this point, we'd be upgrading and setting some traps, some optional traps. So how you do kind of shotgun traps or whatever you're going to do in here, that's totally up to you. Like, just drop some traps in here, primarily so that you've got something that kind of goes off. It alerts you. Like, get some traps going at like slight angles. It's better. But you'd have to do that before you set all 3 walls down, of course, right? Or before you set this frame down, one of those 2 things. So if everything's down, like, you're gonna have to ladder into your own base, and we want you to never, like, I don't want you to ever have to ladder in here. That's kind of my idea, is you're not doing that. Like, whatever you want for these things. I'm not really focused on that. And now we can just go upgrade some things. So this back chamber is going to be the first thing. If you do get, like I said, if you do get some armored doors, or you do want to add some honeycomb on here, then you can upgrade this center, or the TC compartment, I mean, to high qual. But we're not doing that. We're just going to upgrade this to metal. This probably could be either, but metal TC compartment, that's the main thing. After that, it's kind of up to you. And that's all we've got. So right now with this exact build, it's almost exactly the same as the demo, right? 214 metal and 113 stone. And we've got garage doors. We have the strengthened glass window in here. I think that's why it's slightly different metal. So when we are not cooking, or when we're out of our base, we could put in this, like when we go offline, we put in the strengthened glass window. Or a reinforced window or something like that. And you know, that's all I have to tell you about this design, guys. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and I really appreciate any subs. That helps my channel out, all of those things. And I appreciate you taking your time to watch this video. Thanks.